Hello, we're live with the broadcast social media for General Conference. And I'm getting video calls from people who are trying to get in. So let me invite them into here. Well, for the first time trying this is pretty crazy. And we're back, and we're trying to invite the right people.
Hi, Ben.
Ah, well, not sure what was going on, but we are
Me neither.
broadcasting.
Yes, we are live.
We are
So
live.
I don't know if there's anybody watching.
Well, not, but thanks. No.
If there's anybody watching, can you give us a shout out in the chat box? We'd appreciate it.
Now, where's Ashley?
I don't know. If there's anybody watching and they don't see a chat box, can you post on the Facebook page and say that you're watching? That would be awesome.
Or just tweet one of us. So I'll try to send her another link here. It won't let me read your message. Okay. Well, the nice thing about Google Hangouts on there is that you can go back and so we can edit out this downtime. And before you got on, when I started broadcasting, I welcomed everyone.
That's awesome. We can always take that out. I don't know where everybody is. They're probably watching us and they don't know how to let us know they're watching.
Well, let's see.
Facebook's giving me grief here.
Hello.
And there she goes.
Okay, so we're all here. Right?
That's right.
All three of us are here. Awesome. Yep. Hello, hello. I hope there are people watching this and you are having a wonderful time watching us as we struggle through this technical difficulty. We intended to have this all set up beforehand.
We're here now.
Yeah, we're here and we're going to talk about social media and General Conference.
Two of the best things ever.
So, if you are watching this, if you can see us and hear us, if you could just send a tweet to me or post to the Facebook page, you can reach me at HALDUAUTHOR.
How do author.
How do author. Correct. Or you can tweet Ben or Ashley too. And that would be awesome because then we would know that there are people in existence.
And that we're not talking to ourselves, which is fine.
Okay, I just got a message from Kazu, and she said that she can't see a chat box, but she messaged me on Facebook. So, she must.
Yeah, I have a friend. Kayla says I'm on the thing, but there's no chat box. Kayla.
So there is no chat box available for them.
I think it's here, but
it must just be for. Oh, here we go. Q&A.
Don't worry, guys. We got this.
We're so prepped. Thank you for bearing with us.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it says Q&A is disabled. So I guess
disabled.
using a Q&A right now. If you have any questions, just tweet at us or put them on the Facebook page, and we'll try and monitor those and get to them because the Q&A feature says that it's not working on Google Hangouts. Awesome. But thank you for joining us, and we will get started talking about social media and General Conference.
Yay.
So I think the first matter of business is why do we want to use social media in conjunction with General Conference at all? Why are they two things that should go together? And so I'm going to ask my fellow panelists that question.
All right. Well, first of all, we watch General Conference to hear the words of the living prophets, right? And social media is a means to take the things that are said at General Conference and to share them with the world. And we believe that it's part of our duty as disciples of Jesus Christ to carry His gospel to all the world. And so we can do that via social media, right?
Right. As we know, the Lord, He's hastening His work right now. And Elder Bednar has showed us some ways that using social media can help that to happen. And so that's why we use them together, because it's part of God's plan for us right now.
Awesome. I think you guys have both hit the nail on the head there. It's just a way for us to be able to forward the gospel in ways that we've never been able to before. And General Conference just boosts that to a whole new level because millions of us around the world are able to do it together.
There are a lot of people around the world who don't know that there are living prophets who don't know about the gospel, and this probably all seems really obvious for the people who are watching this. But in case there's anyone who's tuning in that's new, that's our main message, is that there is a prophet on the earth, and we want to be able to carry his words out to everyone. So.
Yep. So over Elder Bednar's, if you haven't watched Elder Bednar's message in Education Week, that would be a great thing to do in preparation for sharing the gospel on social media during General Conference, because he talks a lot about that. And you can find that on the BYU Speeches website. But let's just hit on his guidelines for using social media real quick before we get into some platform-specific stuff.
One thing that I
All
think
right, No, go ahead, Ashley.
I think the most important thing that Elder Bednar told us to do was to be genuine and to be ourselves. And I think that's a very good starting place when we're trying to share the gospel on social media. Some of us have platforms that we're better at, and some of us are still learning on other platforms, and that's okay. But as long as we're honest with who we are, we can help to share goodness.
Right. He, in his talk, he said that a person or product that is not authentic is false, fake, and fraudulent, and that our messages should be truthful, honest, and accurate. And so it's important that we convey ourselves in a manner that's authentic. That way we'll be trustworthy, so when people see our messages, they can trust that they're true. One of the things that I really like that he said is that the gospel messages you share will be accepted more readily if your Christ-like example is evident in the ongoing pattern of your posts. So it doesn't make sense to post a bunch of things that a follower of Christ wouldn't post, and then to also post gospel messages. People aren't going to take that. They're not going to trust you. We have to be consistent in those.
Yeah, I like what both of you have said about authenticity, and I think that is the primary, most important thing that members need to realize this time, is be authentic about who you are and the gospel and the role that it plays in your life. During this weekend, you're going to spend a lot of time engaged in gospel learning activities. And so that should be something that you share on social media. It should be natural for you to share the things that you're doing on social media, whether they're gospel related or not, because you're an authentic person. You represent your entire self.
I can share a little bit of experience that I've had. As many of my Twitter followers know, I used to operate under the name BYU Anon, and I would post gospel messages. In the spirit of being authentic, I decided to put my own name and it was my picture, but it shows my whole face now, so that people can know that I am a real person and that I'm a real person with a real testimony. One of the things that Elder Bednar taught was that anonymity on the internet is not a license to be inauthentic. And so it's okay to act anonymously on the internet, but we still need to remember that we need to be true to who we are and to not portray ourselves in a way that would deceive others.
I think along the same lines, as we're being true to ourselves, we need to be true to other people. Unfortunately, there's opposition in all things, and so there will be people that post anti-comments or things that are in disagreement with you. And I think even though you could be anonymous or pretend that you're someone else and start getting into a Bible bashing situation or something, it's best to avoid that and just to remember that we're supposed to be disciples of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yep.
That actually touches on Elder Bednar's second point from his address. He said, rather than argue, debate, condemn, or belittle, we should edify and uplift with our communications online.
Yep. So Ben Arkell on Facebook asks, can we post questions here? The answer is yes. Yes, you can post questions to the Facebook page. Please do so. as we're going along here. Thanks, Ben. Ben Arkell runs the channel. I'm going to get the channel name wrong. Ashley, give me the Ben Arkell's channel's name.
The Book
I Love the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, I Love the Book of Mormon.
Okay, I Love the Book of Mormon with the Book of Mormon 2-minute challenge. I always want to call the channel that, but that's not the channel's name. And you should all go check that out. It's a great way to share the gospel online. Okay, so let's jump in here. General Conference specifically has some real benefits for us in sharing the gospel online and being able to reach out to our friends that way. And I think the first one that we want to hit on is the hashtags. A lot of people wonder what hashtags are. They get confused about them. So I'll just give a quick rundown on the purposes of hashtags, why we use them, and what they do. The hashtag was invented to be able to link conversations on Twitter together. Its function was to be able to search for similar things. So if we all use the hashtag LDSCONF, like we'll be using all weekend, those conversations get linked together in the search. So that's a big benefit to hashtags. Sometimes people use really long hashtags. Those are normally for humor or sarcasm purposes because they found out there was no good way to express sarcasm on Twitter, and so they started using hashtags to do that, really long hashtags that don't link to any conversation. But the ones we're concerned about for this weekend will be conversations that tie us into the greater conversation going on around General Conference. The benefit to that is, one, you can see what other people are thinking and saying about conference, and also you help by using the hashtag to boost that hashtag into a trending status. And when we trend online, people who don't know about the church are able to find out about the church because we appear in the trending lists. Anything else you guys want to say about hashtags?
I have the website here for the hashtags that the church recommends that we use, so I'm just going to share that screen right here and read through some of them. All right. So, as you can see, there are some general hashtags, hashtag Mormon, hashtag LDS, hashtag Jesus Christ, hashtag Christian. Those are just ways to get involved in the Mormon discussion online. There are event-specific ones, as you guys know. LDS Conf is the one that we use for General Conference. A couple weeks ago, we had the General Women's Meeting, and so people were using hashtag Women's Meeting. And if you go and search that hashtag right now, you'll actually be able to go back and read a lot of the tweets that people have tweeted about it. So as you can see, there's lots of different ones. Some of the other kind of major ones that trend are CES Devo. And then during General Conference or during addresses, whether they're devotionals at BYU or other places, a lot of times people will use these hashtags with the names of the general authorities. And these also will show up in Twitter trends around the nation and around the world. The nation being the United States. And if there's anyone overseas, thank you for joining us. You can access this list at mormonnewsroom.org and just search on there for, as you see here, Mormon hashtag recommendations. All right.
Yeah, and sometimes a hashtag will be generated by something that happens in conference. For example, when the age change happened, there was a hashtag that generated around that. And so if there's any type of an announcement or anything, there will probably be a special hashtag just for talking about that, and you'll kind of see that that hashtag take place across the internet. So we have a question there, and I'm going to say the name wrong. It's SIOPE, and sorry, I don't know how. I don't want to butcher it, but the question is, how many platforms do each of you use, and which one works best for each of you? Puts in parentheses, I'm new to Twitter. So we have all spent time as social media professionals, and so we probably use more than the average person. And we don't recommend that every person go out and try and set up a a profile on every platform. Our suggestion is that people use what they're comfortable with and what they're already using and where their friends are. So my favorite platform is Twitter. That's the one that I like to use the best. It's the one where I find that I am able to encounter a lot of non-members of the church who are open to talking about lots of things with me, and the church often comes up in those conversations. So I enjoy Twitter a lot. It's one of my favorite places to be online. Ashley, how about you?
It depends on the day, to be honest. I like all platforms for different things. I'd say I'm probably the most active on Facebook, and I'm probably more active than most people on Google+.
That's a guarantee.
Yeah, I have social profiles on, I think, every social network, every major social network, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Pinterest. I have a Tumblr. I don't really use a Tumblr, or an Instagram. And really, each social network, it's a matter of how you want to interact with people. I use Facebook mainly to interact with people that I know, my family and friends. And I really love Twitter as a means of connecting with people all around the world. I actually run multiple Twitter accounts. I run one where I tweet about my personal life, and I share occasionally gospel messages or retweet stuff on there. And then I actually have another account, Oben Brown, which many of you who are watching probably follow, and that's where I share just straight gospel messages, or at least that's my goal.
He does a pretty good job.
Yeah, he does. Okay, I want to go into another special way that General Conference lets us share the gospel. We do this throughout the year, but General Conference especially is a great season for what we call quote images or memes. And Ashley, I'd just like you to take a minute and talk about quote images and how they help us to share the gospel and why we might want to use them during this conference.
So quote images are a good way for people to see the gospel quickly, and they generally stand out in a news feed on any platform better than just a text post. For General Conference, there's going to be a lot of really good analogies used and a lot of really good one-liner quotes that people will remember. And as we create those quote images and we share them to our friends, and it helps them to remember, and it also helps to start good conversations with people that may not be members of our faith. I think even C.S. Lewis and other people will be quoted often during General Conference, and people can relate to them as well.
Yep. So what's the process of sharing a quote image?
So it depends on the platform. If you are on Facebook, you can simply share one that someone else has made. The same is true on Google+. If you're on Twitter, everything like that, you can retweet it, repin it on Pinterest. Anything like that. You can also +1, like, and all that type of thing. If you want to make your own quote images, I would recommend a program called PicMonkey. That's PICMONKEY.com. And that's a free source that you can either edit an image that you already have or start from scratch and design your own image and then put a quote on it as well.
Yes, another great free tool in addition to PicMonkey is called Canva, C-A-N-V-A, canva.com, which also gives you free access to editing tools, putting quotes on there. So you can make your own, or you can just share the ones that other people make. I'm sure Ashley will be sharing a whole bunch to the LDS.net profiles over the next couple days, and so there will be plenty there for you to share. And if you hear something that really strikes you, you can always go and make your own. They're fun to make and not too difficult. And don't be too hard on yourself as you try and make them if that's something that you decide you want to do. Just go with what you have.
I have an experience with that. So last year for General Conference, we made a whole bunch of quote images, and one of them I made when I didn't have a lot of time, and it actually got the most shares and interaction, and it wasn't very complicated. So really it's by small and simple things that great things happen.
And that's a scripture, folks. Ben Arkell on Facebook says we need more YouTubers. It's the #2 search engine in the world. So Ben Arkell would love it if you guys would make some YouTube videos. Now that's a step up from making pictures. So
I got you right now, Ben. This is being broadcast on YouTube.
That's true. This is being broadcast on YouTube. So YouTube's fun. Another great way is things on YouTube. Like videos that are great. Videos like Ben Arkell's.
Yeah. Also, don't comment on or unlike other people's videos that are bad. Just focus all of your energy on doing, commenting and interacting with the good videos. That will help in sharing the gospel.
And so this is a good point to bring up that all of the talks will be put on YouTube. They always are, and a lot of times the highlights of the talks are put on YouTube very soon after the talks go up. And so that's something to think about and be aware of, that those videos will be going out. They'll be something that you can share to your profiles. The highlight videos are nice and short, and so that makes an easy thing to share that your friends and family are able to look at and learn something about General Conference right away.
Now, Ben, we have another question from Brother Keeney. I'm hoping I say that right. I don't know if you saw that one. He asks, how do you balance church posts and other posts? Is there a ratio that you use? He says, I'm just curious. I have friends whose every post is political, and I tend to ignore them. I'd like to reach out, but I don't want to overdo it either.
Yeah, so I think this is a question that we get a lot, and I spent a good deal of time training senior missionaries on how to use social media, which was a wonderful experience. They would ask me this question. My answer goes back to what Elder Bednar said about being authentic. If you are a missionary, then probably all your posts are going to be religious posts, because that's what you do all day, every day, and that's your authentic self. If you are a person at home who works and has a family and has hobbies and goes to church, then your posts will balance out that way. You should represent yourself authentically. So if you like news, you should probably share news articles. If you like church, you'll share church articles and images. If you like motorcycles, you'll share stuff about motorcycles. And so there isn't like a direct ratio that that I have, like 10% of your posts should be religious or something. I think Ashley has more religious posts than I do. That's because Ashley's a better, more religious person than I am. So I have lots of posts that are about social media. I have lots of posts that are about productivity. I have quite a few posts that are about religion. And those are things that are big parts of my life. And so that's what comes out in my social media, and that's what I hope everyone here will be able to accomplish with theirs. During General Conference, there's going to be more, because you're spending more of your time on religious things.
In my experience, as I mentioned before, I run 2 Twitter accounts, and one is dedicated just to sharing the gospel. And one of my personal practices is on my personal accounts, I don't schedule out tweets, and so if you see me tweeting, it's because I'm right there. I just typed it into my phone or to my iPad or whatever, and so I'd like to share it when I'm studying the gospel or when I have thoughts about the gospel. I like to share those. Because I tend to do that a lot, I decided it's better to use a separate account than my regular account, so that people who follow me that are interested in those other things aren't overwhelmed, like you said, with those things. And I try to tweet a great deal from both accounts. During the school year, it's actually pretty tough, and I feel like I don't get to tweet as much missionary work related kinds of things as I'd like to. But.
Yeah, my suggestion is don't overwhelm yourself. So Ben spends a lot of time on social media, so it makes sense for him to have 2 accounts. But don't overwhelm yourself by trying to make too many accounts. Just focus on building up 1 or 2. My wife had some input. She said that her favorite social media platform is Instagram, and she likes to use that to share the gospel by sharing things that are religious in nature. But she doesn't only share religious posts to her Instagram. She shares lots of pictures of things that we do as a family, or things that represent what happened that day. So it's just a nice way to mix things in.
Well, and I mean, just living our lives and following Jesus Christ, there can be a lot of things in our regular lives that just show goodness, and that's something that, as Elder Bednar taught us and asked us to use the hashtag share goodness. It doesn't always have to be sharing your testimony. It can just be, I think one of the examples that they show on the website is like, made a time at home to have grilled cheese with my kids. And, it's a positive thing. It promotes the family, and if it promotes the family, then it promotes the gospel. And so it doesn't always need to be specifically about the church or about the scriptures to be a post that could help someone come into Christ.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think as we show who we are as members of the church through the goodness that exists in us, just like people see that as we interact with them face to face, they'll see that in social media as well. I'd like to take a moment and talk about live tweeting General Conference. So live tweeting is when an event's going on, and as you are observing the event, you send out Twitter posts about that. You normally use a hashtag to keep those grouped together about that event. Live tweeting is something that I enjoy doing during conference. I normally do it for a couple sessions, and I normally do a couple sessions where I don't live tweet. It gives you two different experiences. Live tweeting gives you a sense of community because you can see what everybody else is doing, but it can at times be distracting. So I don't live tweet every session, but I do always live tweet a couple because I think it's fun. But it's not something that everybody needs to do, but it is a great way for us to get those hashtags trending because we send out a lot of tweets in a short period of time and get them up there. So it's something to consider. The way you do that is pretty simple. You go into Twitter and you do a search for the hashtag of the event, in this case LDSConf. You do that search, and then you'll just see as everybody tweets, they'll come along, and when you have something you want to tweet, you'll just open up the tweet box. You can do it on your desktop or your mobile device, and then you'll send out your tweet and make sure the hashtag is attached to it. And that's really all there is to it. That's live tweeting in a nutshell. One thing that I think we should address when we talk about live tweeting, though, is anti-Mormons on the internet. There tends to be a lot of them, and sometimes they like to use our hashtags too. And so Ben's going to talk about how to deal with that when an anti-Mormon post comes up. Because we don't want your experience on the internet to be bad.
And something, as I mentioned earlier in this broadcast, I used to run an account called BYU Anon, and I would post spiritual kinds of tweets on there. And when I was operating under that name, I used to all the time just get stuff from anti-Mormons on Twitter, and they would say, well, blah, 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 blah. And the best way to deal with them is often to just not respond. If there are people who are sincerely seeking the truth, then they're probably not going to come at you with arms swinging. And it's not our responsibility to try to convert someone who's going to harden their heart to the gospel. Ever since I switched from BYU on to operating under the name Oben Brown, I've gotten considerably less of a negative response. And so if you're tweeting out under your own name, there's a much lower chance, I would say, that someone would start hassling you. If you are being harassed, the best way is to stop it is just to block that person, and then they will no longer be able to tweet to you.
Yeah. Let me just show people how to do a block on Twitter, just so that everybody knows how to do that.
Don't block me, Ben.
I'm going to show you how to block Ben Brown
Yeah.
On Twitter. So let me get my screen. Oh, there's my screen. Okay, so I'm going to open up Twitter here, provided my internet will work. And I'm going to do a search on the hashtag LDSConf. This is how you would do it. LDSCONF. Search. What you get is you get top tweets, beginning, but when you're doing a live tweet, you want to switch to all so you can see what's coming in. And there's Catherine Skaggs, a great friend of ours online, so we don't want to block her.
That's brother Keeney. Hi.
Oh, yeah. So I don't see anybody mean here. Wow. This is amazing. I must have blocked all of them already. Well, I'll just show you an example. Let's say that I don't see any of us. Clearly, we're not tweeting enough, guys. Let's just say I'll do Catherine Skaggs because she can take it. We're not really going to block her. But if you wanted to, if someone was being abusive or annoying, and you wanted to block them, you just go and click on their profile and then click this gear right here. The gear then gives you a drop-down menu. There's a whole bunch of options. Block and report is what you're looking for. Just click block.
And even clicking there won't actually block a person.
Right, you'll get this menu right here. And then you click block. You can choose to file a report, but I don't normally do that because that takes more time.
And
so that's
also,
how you do it.
Sorry, and that's also just a good way of clearing out anything in your feed that you really don't want to see.
That's true. Or you could just unfollow people.
Yeah.
You don't have to block them if they're not abusive. Okay, Ben Arkell actually asked us what to do about trolls on the hashtag. But we answered it before I saw his post. Sorry about that, Ben. But hopefully we've answered your question.
I think my Facebook page doesn't update very quickly.
No, Facebook seems to be having a problem right now, actually.
I keep getting notifications, but then not seeing the questions.
Not seeing the post, yep.
Well, the last
Twitter might be the best way to contact us because Facebook seems to be having trouble. We'll try and watch the Facebook. You can reach us. You can reach Ben Brown at @OBenBrown. You can reach Ashley at Deuster9. And you can reach me at HalduAuthor, HALDUAUTHOR. That's probably the best way to reach us during this time.
And we're all on, so it's all good.
Something that we didn't mention when we were going over quote images, and it also relates back to Elder Bednar's talk, is he said that we need to respect the rights of others. And so that's it's important when we're sharing images that we what we would say is have the rights to them, or that if we do share someone's image that we attribute them if we are uploading it ourselves. Now the church has provided a resource at it's medialibrary.lds.org where you can go and share any of those images. And the church, there's no copyrights on them, so the church says they're totally cool to share. And as part of that, I'm gonna pull this up real quick. Last year for General Conference, they released a whole page of quotes and stuff that are already made. So if you're lazy like me and you don't want to make your own, and maybe if you're not as creative as Ashley is, you can go and use what the church has provided already. And so this is, it looks like it's broadcasting backwards. Okay, now it's forwards on my screen. But as you can see here, these are a lot of quote images, and they're in various languages, and there's even 4 pages of them. But these are all done by the church from April's General Conference, and I'm sure that they'll be doing more for this conference tomorrow and Sunday.
You can also look at Ben Arkell's page and Alex Belinsky's pages. LDS Missionaries has a lot of images, and so does I Love the Book of Mormon, as well as LDS.net. So if you want a variety, you can switch it up between those pages.
Yeah, which is nice because each page tends to have a distinct style in which they do things. Kayla on Facebook has asked if we will please post the links and hashtags that we've mentioned.
Sure.
So we will do that to the Facebook event page. We'll try and post the websites, the hashtags, and the Twitter accounts that we've mentioned tonight.
Can work on that right now, Ben, if you want.
Sure, yeah. That'd be awesome. So we've talked about a lot of different platforms. I don't think we've talked specifically about Facebook a lot, but most of the things that we've said apply to Facebook. You're not likely to encounter anti-Mormon trolls on Facebook. They're just not there as much as they are on Twitter. But you might encounter a friend who doesn't like the gospel very much, and so sometimes they might say something that isn't very nice sometimes. And in that case, you normally don't want to block them because they're your friend and you have some other association with them, or they're a relative. And so the best thing to do there is to just remember to respond with kindness and to not argue about things, but just to bear testimony of the things that you know are true. And remember, whenever you're doing missionary work, things won't always be pleasant. That's just part of it. That's Christ said that it would be that way, but that's not a reason not to do it. I think Facebook's a really powerful tool for sharing the gospel because we are connected with so many of our close friends and family there, and so we're able to share with them. But you don't want to share in the same quantity that you might be sharing on Twitter. So I don't suggest live Facebooking an event. That might become obnoxious for your friends. That's a better thing to do on Twitter. But you can use hashtags on Facebook, and it will be really cool to see if we can get a conference trending on Facebook this time.
Yeah. Hashtags work on every single platform. They weren't always on Facebook, but all the things that we've listed, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Pinterest, Instagram, all use hashtags. And so you can use a hashtag on Facebook just like you would on Twitter, and if you click on the hashtags when you see them, you'll see it brings up a search just like would on Twitter, and they adopted that because it's a really effective way of conveying information. And so, like Ben said, it's probably not the best idea to live Facebook your conference experience, but at the end of a session or at the end of the day is a great opportunity to share something that maybe was meaningful to you and to take some time to share that with others.
So Ben Arkell wants to know how he can be as cool as we are.
He already is. Cooler.
I agree. Definitely agree. And I think in a general sense, if you want to become something, it just takes practice. Just like in sharing the gospel as a missionary, if you want to get out there and do the work, you just have to simply do it. And I think, obviously, Ben Arkell is a great example of just doing it. But yep. I think we can all just practice.
Yeah, practice is definitely the great teacher, right? That's how we get where we're going. Let's talk about Pinterest for a second. I don't know how many ladies we have watching us tonight, but
at least one.
Pinterest is a pretty Ben, you're ridiculous. Pinterest is a big social media platform right now, and it is a great place to be able to share the gospel. Quote images were basically made for Pinterest. You all know that you love to pin inspirational stuff to your Pinterest boards, and General Conference is a great time to do that because you might only share one of the quote images you find to Facebook per session because you just don't want to do that much. But on Pinterest, you can pin like 25 of them to your board all at one time, and then your friends get on Pinterest and they just see a nice big stream of inspiration. And in my experience, nobody on Pinterest gets mad about that. So the more inspiration on Pinterest, the better. So I definitely would encourage people who use Pinterest already to make a General Conference or an LDS Quotes board and to start pinning this tomorrow, very next session.
Lord,
Well, yeah, if you go do the women's session quote images right now. Like, get those pins rolling. It's a fantastic place. You know, Pinterest has led a resurgence of homemaking skills across the world. Something that the church has always been really good at, but something that the world has been losing over the last several years. And Pinterest has kind of led a resurgence of interest in those things, and so it's a great way for people to open up to the gospel and to see what members have. And I think there's other creative ways you could probably use Pinterest as well. I know lots of moms have general conference activities for their kids. Those can go on Pinterest. Lots of people have special recipes for a general conference. They make their special cinnamon rolls or special meal for their family every year. So those can all go on Pinterest. And just include something like general conference cinnamon rolls or something in that link, and that's just another way of showing how your faith touches your life, I guess.
And make sure that they're easier than regular cinnamon rolls because people like to sleep in them for conference.
Especially Ben.
Now you can also share videos on Twitter on Pinterest. You can share them on any social network basically, but you can pin like YouTube videos. So often the Mormon channel on YouTube will post like conference highlight videos. Those are also good things to share. Whether it's Pinterest thing is a great place to share them, but on any of the networks obviously.
Yeah, interesting. But we have a question here. Ben, you were pronouncing this name correctly, brother.
Kini.
I hope we're saying your name right. He says, with hashtags, who decides which hashtag is best to use? Does someone post something and everyone jumps on the bandwagon? Yes, is the answer to that.
Yes.
So there's certain hashtags that that just start, and actually LDS Conf was one of those that just started, and then the church adopted it as the official hashtag. And so normally any event that you attend or that you watch, you will see a hashtag for that event that the event planners have decided will be the official hashtag. So when you watch General Conference, in one of the bottom corners of the screen, you'll see the hashtag. It'll say hashtag LDS Conf. Other hashtags like hashtag TwitterStake aren't necessarily used by the church officially, but it's just something that developed as an organic movement on Twitter. The important thing to remember is nobody owns a hashtag. They can't be owned by somebody. You can't control them, and so anyone can use them who wants to. And so sometimes LDS is just a set of initials, right? And sometimes something else will happen with the initials LDS, and so you'll find things that aren't church-related on that hashtag.
Something that's funny that happened actually was when the Share Goodness hashtag was first recommended to be used by Elder Bednar. If for those of us who were watching that broadcast, a lot of us started using it right then, and I went and looked at the search history, and people had been using the hashtag Share Goodness for a while. And it looked like it was mainly being used for a restaurant and I think we overran their social media campaign a little bit with Elder Bednar's Share Goodness movement. I'm scrolling through the Twitter history right now to see if I can get back that far, but it looks like it looks like if you go back far enough, Share Goodness was definitely not an LDS thing before, but it is clearly an LDS hashtag now.
Yeah, so that's called a Twitter takeover right there.
Yeah, Zoe's. I think it's like Zoe's Kitchen is the one that was promoting that hashtag before. So sorry, Zoe's Kitchen. But read the Book of Mormon. And
you always want to check hashtag before you use it, just to make sure that someone else, and particularly if you're starting a hashtag that you want people to use, make sure that that they aren't using it for something else, something that you don't want to be associated with.
Right.
Kayla says she loves Pinterest and 100% agrees with what we say. Awesome.
Thanks, Kayla.
We have another question here from brother Kinney, and he says, have any of you been threatened by people for the things you've posted? Any real threat? And then he says he'll stop his questions. You don't need to stop your questions. We love questions. You guys ever been threatened? I never have.
I've never been threatened.
I can't say threatened. I've been firmly chastised, perhaps, but never threatened.
Chastised. That's a nice word. Yeah, I mean, I've been like, I guess you can't call it verbally assaulted. What would you call it? Textually assaulted?
Yeah. I mean, in a way, it's bullying, right? Like, it's just picking on Mormons.
Like, yeah, like I've been bullied by a lot of anti-Mormons online, but it doesn't really faze me anymore. But I know that's not true for everybody, which is why you want to be careful.
I would say maybe the first couple times where antis were reacting negatively to me, it was kind of like, whoa, like,
yeah, it's a lot.
It's just sad, you know, and you feel bad for them because they just spend their time trying to hurt people's feelings, I guess. But
yeah, it's a lot like the first time something like that happens to you on your mission, you know, when you first really get, I don't know, attacked by somebody on your mission. Although sometimes those threats were physical. but yeah, I wouldn't be overly concerned about it. It's just something to be aware of how to deal with them, but don't let them define your online experience.
Right.
I think it's also important. Sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I think it's also important to remember that opposition is a good thing. It's a sign that something is going well. Otherwise, Satan wouldn't be trying to attack it. And so if people weren't going against the things that we're doing to try to share goodness, then it wouldn't be of God, in my opinion. I think that it's a clear indicator that it's working. And Satan's scared of it. He doesn't like it. And so he's going to use as much evil as he can to try to prevent it from doing good. But as we know, light always conquers darkness, and sharing goodness will always conquer the bad that's trying to be shared as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ben Arkell on Facebook says that he's had his memes assaulted, and I think that's true. You're more likely to get some flack on things like that because they're visual, and more people see them, more people share them, and so you're more likely to have somebody see it who doesn't like it.
Yeah, that's just a basic social media principle too. That the images tend to get shared more often than a regular just text post.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which gives it greater opportunity for good, and also greater opportunity for someone who doesn't like it to see it. But all the more reason to share it, I guess.
Right.
Guys, I think we've tapped on all the major social networks except Google Plus and LinkedIn. All I'm going to say about LinkedIn is it doesn't provide a lot of resources for sharing the gospel. The best thing with the gospel that you can do on LinkedIn is list your mission as experience. But it's not a fast-paced social network. There's not a lot of opportunity for sharing gospel stuff on there because it's mostly all business content. But it is a good place to have a professional presence and to show that Mormons are accomplished people. As far as Google Plus goes, Google Plus is a fun social network. It's an interesting social network. I don't recommend that people go out and just start using Google Plus if they aren't already using it, because you won't have as many friends who are there. But it can be a fun place to go and do stuff.
I will disagree with Ben on that. I think if you have any curiosity about Google Plus, you should join it and try to start playing around with it now and trying to understand it. And it's a good place to practice sharing the gospel online because not a lot of people are going to see it at first.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. That's a good point.
Well, and Google Plus, it really is. It's, to be honest, I think it's a great social network. I just think it's underutilized. That most people aren't using Google Plus profiles. They feel like they're maybe forced into getting one by Google, because they had a Gmail address. But I think overall it's a great way to interact with people and to share and connect. And I use Google Plus more for networking than I do for interacting with people that I know. But you can use any social platform the way that you want to, and you can make it what you want it to be.
Yeah. My main concern is not that Google Plus is a bad social network. I like it. I use it particularly for interacting with communities. My main concern is that people not become overwhelmed by the number of social networks available. I would rather that each person use one social network to consistently use it and use it to share the gospel than become overwhelmed with too much going on.
Well, and that being said, if anyone out there after this broadcast even has questions about sharing the gospel or even just how to use different social media platforms, feel free to contact us. I'm most accessible via Twitter, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. I don't want to speak for Ben and Ashley, but I imagine that they feel similarly.
Yep.
For me, Ben.
Yeah, we would love for you to contact us. We love to talk about sharing the gospel online. It's a passion of ours, obviously. That's why we're doing this. And we'd be happy to provide any tips or anything like that. Yeah, you can also visit lds.net/share, which has a lot of things on there. It has some lists of good people to follow and to get good content online and stuff like that. Also, we didn't mention this, the apostles, quite a few of them are tweeting now actively, and so you might want to follow them. I have a list under my Twitter account called, I think it's called LDS Church Leadership, and that has all of the accounts that we're pretty sure belong to church leaders because they use the same methodology as all the ones who've already tweeted. And we've seen quite a few of them tweet in recent times. President Monson himself has been tweeting, which is really exciting for us. So you'll want to follow those people, whichever social network you're on, either Facebook, Google Plus, or Twitter. You can follow the brethren on there.
You can hashtag follow the prophet.
Hashtag.
You can't follow the prophet on Pinterest yet, but you can follow Sister Bonnie Oscarson. Yeah. So you'll want to do that. She's awesome at Pinterest, so you should follow her.
Hey guys, we have another question from Ben Arkell. He wants to know if Google Plus is dying and if it's worth putting in the effort.
Okay. Well, we can only give an opinion on that, but my opinion is that Google Plus isn't dying because Google owns it, and it won't die unless Google kills it.
Or Google dies.
But Google's
that's
not
not
dying.
looking good.
So Google Plus has a lot of value to Google in their ability to gather social data from it. And so they really want to hang on to it, and they have a lot of power to make it work. So I think if particularly with something like what Ben Arkell is doing, it's worth it to put in effort on Google Plus for a specific movement like that. I just don't suggest that every average person go set up an account if they aren't already using one. But I don't think it's going away anytime soon.
I agree. I also think that because YouTube is connected to Google Plus, and you're working a lot with YouTube, Ben Arkell, you definitely want to use that to give yourself a little bit more of a preference on Google.
Yeah. Using Google Plus will help increase your search engine results and all that jazz. I don't know how it all works. I just know it does.
Yep. Yeah. Well, guys, we're just about at our time here. We want to let people get gone in case they want to go hear Neon Trees or go to a BYU football game. So we know Ashley has a place to be. So I think we're going to wrap it up. We really appreciate everyone who has attended tonight and everyone who's asked questions. This has been a great event, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again in the future and provide some practical tips. My invitation to everyone would be to use social media during this conference weekend, and also to invite somebody else to do it. I know a lot of you who've attended tonight are already really good at doing this stuff. And so please invite others to do so as well. Ben Brown is going to get this video. It will be up on YouTube, so people can watch us talk if they want to, or you can just share the tips that we've given you tonight with others. That would be a great way to go forward. You'll be watching conference with somebody, I hope. Hopefully you don't have to watch it by yourself, and you can invite them to do some sharing in between sessions. So.
My last plug for just social media in general is remember that it's a social thing. So don't be antisocial. A lot of people tend to get on Facebook and just go down and they like stuff. But if you see things that are interesting, go comment. Go get in a conversation with someone. Tweet back at someone if they tweet something that you're interested in. Just it's about connecting with people, and I think that's the least utilized feature of social media. So.
Yeah.
So for my last words, I would just say I've seen this work, and I know that it is a good thing, and I know that it's even blessed my life every day as I see the posts from all of those that are sharing goodness, and I know that people really are affected, and that people's lives are changing as we follow the prophets' counsels to share the gospel online and use social media for good.
Amen.
My last thing to say is the Lord has provided these tools for us. Spencer W. Kimball prophesied that these things would begin to happen many years ago. And so the Lord's provided these for us, and we have a responsibility to use them for good. And so go out there and share some goodness. We really appreciate everyone who's attended tonight. Thank you so much.
All right. Hashtag see you later.
Hashtag we're off.
All right. Hashtag share goodness. And hashtag hasten the work.
Hashtag no more hashtags.
Okay.
Done.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
See you later.